On the 9th of August 1965, the world watched something almost unheard of. A country threw out one of its own territories. Malaysia's Prime Minister, Tunku Abdul Rahman, signed a bill that forced the busy port of Singapore to leave the Federation. Hours later, Singapore's young leader Lee Kuan Yew faced live cameras, voice shaking as he told his people, "This is a moment of anguish. Nations fight wars to keep land, so why did Malaysia give this island away?" To understand this, we need to look at the World War II shattered colonial rule in Southeast Asia. When Japan surrendered in 1945, Britain rushed back to its old possessions, Malaya, Singapore, Sarawak, and North Borneo. But the ground had shifted. Local groups had tasted self-rule and communist rebels were stirring in the jungle. Britain chose a slow exit. In 1957, the mainland peninsula became the independent Federation of Malaya. In 1963, to balance its tiny size against bigger powers, Malaya joined with Singapore plus the two Borneo territories, forming Malaysia. For Malaya, the merger added manpower and the region's best harbor. For Singapore, it promised a huge market and a shield against communist pressure from nearby Indonesia and China. Yet the new federation was built on shaky ground. In Kuala Lumpur, Prime Minister Tunku led a coalition that guarded special rights for ethnic Malays, who formed a slim majority nationwide. Across the causeway, Lee Kuan Yew's People's Action Party, PAP, demanded a Malaysia, equal treatment for every race. Most of Singapore's people were Chinese, and Lee feared they would live as second-class citizens under Malay First laws. Both leaders hated communism, but on almost every domestic question, taxes, trade, education, even what language children should learn, they clashed. Lee first promised not to meddle in federal politics. That truce collapsed in 1964, when Kuala Lumpur tried to curb Singapore's autonomy. PAP jumped into the national election and urged voters across Malaysia to back racial equality. The party won only one seat, but the gesture terrified Tunku. If Chinese voters outside Singapore followed the PAP, Malay political control could vanish. Fear spread to the streets. On July 21, 1964, a scuffle during a Muslim parade in Singapore exploded into race riots. Rumors flew that one side had attacked the other. Mobs formed within hours. Soldiers imposed curfews, but fresh violence flared in September. Almost 40 people died and hundreds were hurt. Each riot deepened suspicion. Kuala Lumpur said PAP had stirred Chinese pride. PAP said the federal police had shielded Malay attackers. The young marriage was cracking in public. By mid-1965, Tunku concluded that the island brought more danger than benefit. Yes, Singapore's port made money, but it also carried an opposition party, a rival vision, and the constant threat of fresh riots. Behind closed doors, he told aides, "If we cannot solve the race question, let Singapore go." On 7 August 1965, Tunku summoned Lee to a secret meeting and dropped the bomb. Separation was the only peaceful answer. On the 9th of August 1965 at 10 a.m., Malaysia's parliament voted 126-0 to expel Singapore. Not one member objected. Lee hurried home and signed a new Proclamation of Independence, his second in 2 years, this time not from Britain but from Malaysia. On television, he wiped away tears, yet also promised, "We are going to survive." Singapore was suddenly alone. No farmland, no drinking water supply of its own, surrounded by neighbors who doubted it could last. Lee acted with breakneck speed. To tackle the primary focus of security, he built a citizen army, trained in secret by Israeli officers. Next, to boost the country's economy, he lured multinational factories and turned a swampy river mouth into the ultra-efficient port of Singapore. Finally, he made English the working language, launched massive public housing blocks, and insisted every block mix races so no group could form exclusive enclaves. The result? Exports soared, foreign investors poured in, and the island became one of the world's richest and safest places within a single generation. The split of 1965 shows how identity politics can rewrite maps. Malaysia chose stability through separation. Singapore chose survival through speed, discipline, and openness to the world. Both states avoided civil war, yet each carries the scar of a painful divorce. History rarely offers clean breaks, but when it does, what leaders do next can turn a crisis into a miracle, or a mistake that lasts forever. If you loved this video, hit that like button and subscribe to History Hackers. We'll bring you more interesting stories from every corner of the world.